In the early days of humanity, after Adam and Eve were banished from the Garden of Eden, their lives took a dramatic turn with the birth of their two sons, Cain and Abel. This story of the first siblings, set in a world still fresh from creation but already tainted by sin, explores the powerful emotions of jealousy, anger, and the consequences of disobedience. Cain, a farmer, and Abel, a shepherd, each sought to connect with God through their offerings. However, when God favored Abel's sacrifice over Cain's, Cain's jealousy led him down a dark path, resulting in the first act of murder. The story of Cain and Abel is a poignant reminder of how our choices shape our destiny and the importance of mastering our emotions to live in harmony with God's will. Join us as we explore the tale of Cain and Abel, the first sons of Adam and Eve. Is a powerful story that delves deep into the human heart, exploring themes of jealousy, sin, and the consequences of turning away from God's guidance. In the early days of humanity, Adam and Eve lived outside the Garden of Eden, having been banished due to their disobedience. Yet, despite their fall from grace, life continued, and they were blessed with two sons. The firstborn, Cain, was a strong and hard-working man. He chose to work the land, becoming a farmer who tilled the soil and reaped the harvest. The second son, Abel, had a gentler nature and became a shepherd, caring for the flocks that roamed the fields. As the brothers grew, so did their understanding of their relationship with God. Both Cain and Abel knew the importance of giving thanks and offering sacrifices to the Creator who had given them life. In an act of worship, each decided to bring an offering to God. Cain, proud of his labor and the fruits of the earth, brought some of his crops as an offering. He gathered the grains, fruits, and vegetables he had cultivated, placing them on the altar as a symbol of his hard work and dedication. Abel, on the other hand, brought something different. From his flock, he selected the firstborn lambs, the best and most unblemished. Abel offered not just any sheep, but the finest he had, representing the purity and innocence that he believed would please God. As the smoke from their offerings rose into the sky, God looked down upon them. He saw the heart behind each gift. Abel's offering was accepted with favor because it came from a place of deep faith and genuine devotion. Abel had given the best of what he had, trusting fully in God's provision. But Cain's offering, though the result of his hard work, was not received with the same favor. It was not because of the crops themselves, but because of the attitude behind the gift. Cain's heart was not fully in his offering, it lacked the genuine faith and humility that God desired. When Cain saw that God had favored Abel's offering over his own, his heart filled with anger and jealousy. He couldn't understand why his offering was not good enough. His face darkened, his eyes burned with resentment, and bitterness took root in his soul. Seeing Cain's distress, God spoke to him, offering a chance for redemption. "Why are you angry?" God asked. "And why has your countenance fallen? If you do what is right, will you not be accepted? But if you do not do what is right, sin is crouching at your door. It desires to have you, but you must rule over it." God's words were clear, a loving warning to Cain. They were an invitation to examine his heart, to overcome the anger that was threatening to consume him. But Cain, blinded by his jealousy, could not hear the wisdom in God's words. Instead, he allowed his bitterness to fester and grow. Day by day, his anger towards Abel intensified, until it clouded his judgment completely. One day, Cain approached Abel with a plan in mind. "Let's go out to the field," he said, hiding his true intentions behind a facade of brotherly camaraderie. Abel, unaware of the darkness brewing in his brother's heart, agreed and followed Cain. They walked together into the open fields, the sun shining down, the birds singing, a scene of peace, unaware of the violence about to erupt. In a sudden, unprovoked attack, Cain turned on Abel. His hands, once used for cultivating the soil, now became instruments of destruction. With a weapon in hand, a stone or perhaps a farming tool, Cain struck Abel down. Abel fell to the ground, lifeless, his blood soaking into the earth. The first murder had been committed, and the bond of brotherhood was shattered. In the silence that followed, Cain stood over Abel's body, his hands stained with his brother's blood, his heart pounding with a mix of anger, fear, and confusion. It was then that God's voice came to Cain, a voice that pierced through the silence and echoed in Cain's ears. "Where is Abel your brother?" God asked, though he already knew the answer. Cain, trying to mask his guilt, responded defiantly, "I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper?" God's voice, filled with both sorrow and righteous anger, spoke again. "What have you done? The voice of your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground." There was no hiding the truth. The earth itself bore witness to the crime, Abel's blood crying out for justice. God pronounced judgment on Cain, a consequence of his actions that could not be ignored. "Now you are cursed from the earth, which has opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. When you till the ground, it shall no longer yield its strength to you. A fugitive and a wanderer you shall be on the earth." Cain's punishment was more than he could bear. He felt the weight of his actions pressing down upon him. The thought of being cast out, of becoming a wanderer with no home, filled him with dread. "My punishment is greater than I can bear," Cain cried out. "Surely, you have driven me out this day from the face of the ground. I shall be hidden from your face. I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond on the earth, and it will happen that anyone who finds me will kill me." Yet, even in judgment, God showed mercy. He did not abandon Cain completely. Instead, he placed a mark upon Cain, a sign that would protect him from those who might seek to harm him. "Therefore, whoever kills Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold," God declared. The mark served as a reminder of God's justice and mercy, a symbol that even in his sin, Cain was not beyond God's reach. Banished from the presence of God, Cain left the land of his birth and traveled to the east, to the land of Nod. There, he would live out his days, forever marked by his actions, forever a wanderer, haunted by the memory of his brother and the life he had taken. Meanwhile, Adam and Eve, the parents of both Cain and Abel, were left to grieve. They mourned the loss of their righteous son Abel, who had been taken from them so violently, and the loss of Cain, who had been driven away by his own hand. The story of Cain and Abel serves as a powerful reminder of the dangers of jealousy and unchecked anger. It is a story that speaks to the human condition, highlighting the choices we make and the consequences that follow. It calls us to listen to God's warnings, to examine our hearts, and to seek forgiveness before it's too late. In the blood of Abel, we hear a cry for justice, a plea for righteousness, and in God's response to Cain, we see both the sternness of divine judgment and the compassion of a Creator who does not desire the death of a sinner, but rather that they turn from their ways and live.